Hi friends, I'm Jennifer Alessio, the children's pastor here at Heights Church. Thank you so much for joining me for today's devotional. And our thread for the day is Love Does No Wrong. And our scripture is from Romans 13, 8 through 10, and I'm going to read it for us. Owe nothing to anyone except for your obligation to love one another. If you love your neighbor, you will fulfill the requirements of God's law. For the commandments say, you must not commit adultery, you must not murder, you must not steal, you must not covet. These and other such commandments are summed up in this one commandment: love your neighbor as yourself. Love does no wrong to others, so love fulfills the requirements of God's law. So doing no wrong to others is all about treating others the way you want to be treated. It's about thinking about how I can love the other person best. And in order to do that, we have to put aside our own selfish desires so that we can do that. Recently, this was a couple of days ago, I woke up early at about 5:30 in the morning because I wanted to get up and do my chair time, and then I wanted to exercise on my exercise bike for 30 minutes before I got ready to take my kids to school. But I realized when I got up that my husband had gotten up probably a few hours earlier and was sleeping on the couch in the very room that I wanted to exercise in. Now, before you worry, there's nothing wrong with our marriage. It's actually because he's in pain. Our mattress, that's only a few years old, is already failing, and we're in the process of trying to get that returned and get a new mattress. But in the meantime, because it's sloping downward, he gets hip pain, and so it wakes him up 4 or 5 in the morning, and so when he wakes up, he doesn't want to toss and turn and bother me and wake me up. And because he wants relief, he gets up and usually sleeps on the couch in our playroom, which is where my exercise bike is. So I had a choice at that moment. I could go and wake him up and say, hey, I need you to move back to the bed so that I can exercise, or I could let him sleep. And, I have to admit, there's been plenty of times that I've woken him up because I wanted to do what I wanted to do. But I felt really strongly from the Lord that the loving thing would be for me to let my husband sleep, and that his alarm would go off at 6:30, and then I could nicely ask him, hey, would you mind taking the kids to school so that I could exercise and get myself to work? And I did that. It ended up working out. He was fine. He didn't have an early meeting that day. He was able to take the kids to school. And we all had a wonderful day because I chose to put him first and to choose to allow him to sleep instead of put my own selfish desires and my own plans first. And I have to say, I am not perfect. There are plenty of times I have woken him up and asked him to go to the other room. But I know that this way is better, because when I do that, I'm setting up my home to have peace and to have joy and to usher in more of the Lord's presence. Because when I'm kind of being selfish, that allows strife to come into my home and our relationship. And thankfully, the other day, I chose love first. So, if you find yourself in situations where you're not at peace, where you have strife in your relationships at home or in the workplace, I just encourage you to spend some time with the Lord and ask Him to show you where you have not been putting others first, where you have deciding to push your own agenda instead of putting that aside and looking for ways to love those around you better and to put them first, because that's what God calls us to do. He calls us to put aside our own selfish desires so that we can love others well, so that we can treat others the way we want to be treated. And when we do that, we do no wrong. All right, friends, thank you so much for joining me for today's devotional, and I'll see you next time.